Activated.
Analyzing.
Update complete.
What's up, lore masters? Today we'll be analyzing the lore of the Ambassador-class starship, a vessel that a lot of people love, but doesn't really have a lot of information with it. Given this unfortunate circumstance, I'll be also delving into the beta canon, but as always, I'll delineate between what is strictly canon and what isn't. The Ambassador-class starship is a Starfleet heavy cruiser that served around the mid to late 24th century. Though, I will note that its role as a heavy cruiser has some contention. Some resources have tried to claim that it's something else, that it's not a heavy cruiser, mainly because a heavy cruiser during the TNG era would admit they were a military. And God forbid they do that, am I right? The reason this ship is most well known would be due to the TNG episode Yesterday's Enterprise, where we encounter the Enterprise C, a, wait for it, Ambassador-class starship. The ship would be famous for its defense of a Klingon outpost against Romulans. Unfortunately, the vessel would be outnumbered and ultimately the Enterprise C would be destroyed. Well, many would believe that it was destroyed with all hands on board being killed, but we know from later episodes this just isn't true. However, the crew being killed or not, the sacrifice of the Enterprise crew would impress the Klingon Empire and stave off war. Even though the destruction of the Kronos moon meant that it really would make no sense how the Klingons could have gone to war with Starfleet in the first place, let alone win a war with them. I guess, to quote the writers of Voyager, "F continuity, f it to hell." That's an actual quote. The Enterprise C wouldn't be the only Ambassador-class ship that we know of, however. Many would be in different confrontations, including assisting Captain Picard during the Klingon Civil War, as well as engagements against both the Dominion and the Borg. For me, the Ambassador-class ship seems like the natural progression between the Excelsior-class starship and the Galaxy-class. Honestly, if ships were real, if they were real people, this would be the baby between the two. When looking at the Ambassador-class ship, it has a primary saucer section with a secondary engineering hull. Unlike the Excelsior, the secondary hull is slimmed down and the primary saucer section is increased in size and more circular than what you see with the Excelsior, so again, looking more like a Galaxy-class starship. Additionally, the Ambassador is larger than an Excelsior, but smaller than a Galaxy-class. Like the Constitution-class starship, the Ambassador would also have minor refits throughout the eras that would change the look of the ship and even change entire decks, but again, just minor refits. According to Memory Alpha, these minor alterations would include the saucer section connection to the engineering hull shifted slightly aft with the nacelle pylon's assembly moved a corresponding distance in the same direction. Cause that just seems like stupid easy to do. It's like changing window wipers really, just so easy. Cowlings were added to the Bussard collectors, making them look more like the Galaxy class, and the impulse engine exhaust changed from a blue glow to a red glow. It's near Christmas time, so you can see how they would want to change that. It would be very important. Additionally, the lower sensor dome became more elaborate and closer in appearance to that of the Excelsior class, and the deflector dish was changed altogether. Last but not least, the width of the shuttle bay was increased and a secondary facility resembling that on the Excelsior class engineering hull was mounted directly underneath the original one. So yeah, just all easy changes that wouldn't take any time at all. Owing to one of the reasons I don't normally like to use non-alpha canon sources, meaning on-screen, the length of the ship and its crew complement seem to be, again, highly contentious. It changes depending on which quote-unquote licensed material you want to look at. So we can't be really sure, but according to Ships of the Line, the length of the Ambassador is 524 meters, its width is 284 meters, and its height is 101 meters. It supposedly has 33 decks, though I've read 31 in some cases and 29 in others, but 33 seems to be the most consistent. Looking at both officers and non-commissioned officers, you would have a crew of about 1,320, though in the original script of Yesterday's Enterprise, the crew was supposed to be 700. So yeah. The ship comes standard with at least 10 phasers and 2 photon torpedoes. The vessel is also considered to be one of the more maneuverable ships of its era, definitely against Romulan counterparts. We don't see much when it comes to the inside of an Ambassador-class starship, but what we do know is that the bridge stayed consistent with Starfleet designs and was, again, located on the top of the primary hull. The bridge would also continue to be a cross between an Excelsior-class starship and that of a Galaxy-class, with the captain sitting in the middle of the bridge and ops and helm directly in front of him. Or her. The view screen would sit in front with a console directly below it. Against the back walls and lining the sides would be the rest of the consoles, including tactical, science, engineering, communications, and also a PEZ dispenser. Now, the PEZ dispenser was a key system that would be used to replicate shuttles for the Intrepid-class ships in the future, so keep an eye on that. Also, an interesting behind-the-scenes note here. The bridge was actually meant to be a modification of the Galaxy-class battle bridge. I generally don't bring behind the scenes up in my lore breakdowns, but I mention it here because it makes sense that Starfleet engineers would look at the Ambassador-class bridge and then use that on a Galaxy-class, even though a secondary bridge on the Galaxy-class never really made any sense and they used it like twice, but that's getting out of there. It would make sense that Starfleet engineers would try to take what previous models did and incorporate it to some degree on the newer models. I do enjoy that. I think that's pretty cool. Taking a look at the beta canon, the Ambassador class was originally the answer to the aging Excelsior and Constellation classes, at least according to some, again, licensed materials. Other licensed materials say that it was replacing the Excelsior and Oberth class, so whichever one you want to believe. The Ambassador was the primary capital ship for Starfleet until 2372, when it would be replaced by the Galaxy-class ship. According to several novels, the prototype ship, the USS Ambassador, which, by the way, isn't the NX Ambassador, which is clearly impossible because so many Star Trek fans tell me that every ship that is a prototype has an NX in front of it, because quantum. Anyway, I'm sorry, that was me sidetracking. The USS Ambassador was launched and began test trials near Zinkethi space in 2319. This was due to the always pacifistic Federation wishing to show its teeth to the Zinkethi Coalition, in an attempt to intimidate the Coalition and prevent war. Because that's what you do if you're not a military. You utilize military assets to intimidate other powers. The ship would continue to be modified and upgraded, serving in multiple wars as already stated. In fact, in 2370, Starfleet would commission the Bajorans to build a new Ambassador-class ship, called the USS Hannibal. The Bajorans were pretty upset by this, and understandably so, but apparently came to realize that even though you could build Sovereigns, Defiants, Intrepids, and more, the Ambassador class was just super totally awesome. And then, let's move into Star Trek Online. Well, you know what? No, I'm gonna be right back, guys. Okay, phew, man, I needed that ad. Anyway, so looking at the 25th century, specifically the Trek Online canon involving the Ambassador-class ship, the heavy cruiser would again be modified and updated to better assist with the ongoing trials the Federation had. And ultimately, the ship would have up to 7 different variants and modifications, which would impact both shields and other subsystems. The vessel would serve in the fighting against the enemies of the Federation, including against the Borg, the Klingons, Romulans, Doomsday Machines, the Herc, and probably God himself at some point. In Alpha Canon, the ships we know that were Ambassador class included the USS Enterprise C, the USS Excalibur, the USS Horatio, the USS Yamaguchi, and the USS Zukov. Ships we think that are probably Ambassador class include the USS Ambassador, the USS Adelphi, or Adelphi in the Latin, the USS Executor, the USS Gandhi, and the USS Valdemar. For those who want to be on Jeopardy, the ship appears 4 times in TNG, 1 time in Deep Space Nine, and 1 time in Enterprise. Yeah, Enterprise. The Ambassador class is, again, one of those cool ships we just don't have a lot of lore on, but I still find it pretty intriguing. But that's my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you'd like to continue to see videos from the Lore Reloaded, consider becoming a Lore Master and join the fan funding. Check me out at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. Not only do you ensure I continue to make videos, but you get quite a few fun perks, so definitely take a look. Again, the channel is fan funded by fans like you. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'm going to see you on the next Lore Reloaded.